Hopefully, you know, talking about Maggie Fitzgerald and her journey, her developing or having this mindset of putting forth effort has been helpful to think about in our own lives, because I know I can always improve on that. And trying to take this into a practical application, to me, it's really personal because it has to start there. We can't start with a business application of the growth mindset. This has to be something that you do individually to develop this mindset. You want to view the world through the lens of, I can get more skillful, I can get better. And the method that I'm going to do it is by putting forth effort. It's not going to be by being smarter. It's not going to be by being better at a certain skill or something like that. It's only going to be by putting forth effort. That's it. And so for me, my story and my mission and commitment in my life goes back to what would have been 2018 when I had my moment. And then if you want to go back, there's a Iron Man episode back in the YouTubes that you can go look at where we talked about this a little bit more deeply. But for me, there was a moment after my sister died where I realized I have to do something different. And that coincided with this very short-term moment with one of my father's greatest mentors, Steve King, being here for this very short moment and having this superpower of calmness, having this ability to come into a room and have compassion on people, being able to inspire people even in difficult situations. Basically, the way I describe it is when he walks into the room, people know he's there. There is a warmth or a glow, a light that comes off of him, basically, and you can't help but be changed by it. And that realization for me at that moment when I would describe myself much like Maggie described herself at the beginning of the movie. Like I was nothing at that point. I was a piece of crap. I was not helping the world. I was not helping other people. But I had this realization, if I can do one thing, this is it. I need to become like this guy. I have to become like Steve King. And so what did I have to do? Well, it was a long journey, and it still is a long journey, but I just remember in that moment having to put one step in front of the other each day. I'm going to have to change my ways. I'm going to have to start working out every day. I'm going to have to journal every day. I'm going to have to get up much earlier, sit in silence, pray, do the things I have to do in order to get myself right. And it's only that effort. It's getting out there and serving people. I'm going to have to serve the least of these in society.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that it requires to become a person of character, a person who really can make an impact in the world. And Maggie's story is a little bit different than that, but not really, because isn't the framing the same? Isn't the boxing match that Maggie finds herself in, isn't that our lives, right? Our lives might last a lot more rounds than a single boxing match, or our rounds might be a little bit longer. But that's really what it's all about. It's about when you get knocked down, standing back up. That's the advantage. Resilience is the thing that human beings are great at.
Yes, and this goes back to the commitment of superpower, right? Like, it is necessary, maybe not sufficient, but it is necessary to achieve the goals that you have for yourself. And the experience of, being deeper into your career is that those trade-offs, those challenges never go away, right? If you have a little bit of success, then that just feels like more risk. Like, oh, I could lose this. Like, I could lose the success that I've got. I could lose the position that I've got. If I quit and go back to school, then that's giving up all the certainty that I've got with my current career to potentially have another thing that I want, right? You're always having to evaluate that. You're always having to decide and kind of keep your eyes to the future. But the risk aversion, the loss aversion doesn't help you achieve a goal. It just helps you have your eyes open to the risks, right? And so I think what, this movie shows us that tension over and over again of characters that are both have high aspirations and are very aware of what it feels like to fail.
Yeah.
And that's a real experience as a learner, as the person with aspirations, which is, I think, really this episode talking about Maggie's viewpoint, wanting to be the hero, wanting to be the superstar, wanting to be the champion. And I think what we'll do in the next episode is talk about what does that look like as a leader? What does it look like if you are the mentor, if you're Frankie, if you are trying to coach somebody to doing something that is both extraordinary and risky? What's the emotional weight of that?
What about the other side of it, though? Because this is Wonder Tour, and we do have this beautiful dichotomy in this movie because there's a story here that's told through just a couple different scenes, and it's the story of Dagger, right? It's the story of this fighter who has his own mental challenges, and he has this dream and this mission of becoming a title fighter, but he can't even stand in the ring. His mindset isn't there. And by the end of the movie, he just makes a little bit of progress, a little bit of progress, a little bit of progress. He punches the bag at the end, right? He puts one good punch in. He stands in the ring, even though he gets beat up. But what's important is that, for Morgan Freeman's character Scraps, Dagger comes back. The silver lining at the end of this movie isn't Maggie gets better from her traumatic injury. It's
Right.
not that Clint Eastwood finally solves his trauma. It's not. The only silver lining on this movie is at the end, Scraps and Dagger, and they get back up and they do it again.
They're still trying. Yeah. And they watched Maggie and Frankie go through this whole sequence, and they're still trying. They're trying to help each other out.
That's
That's
the
awesome.
effort. That's
I
the
love
growth
it.
mindset that Dagger's developing. And so while it might be too easy to say, oh, we all should be more like Maggie, it's like, yes, Maggie is special. What makes her special, like you said, is her commitment and her growth mindset. And everybody can do that. Dagger can do that. And Brian, you can do that. And I can do that.
Love it. I think that's it right there.